that doesn't really answer my question. Let's say that the contempt involved rendering someone out of the country to a maximum security prison in violation of their right to be heard, in violation of habeas corpus. What kind of sanction would you order if you found after a hearing and in order to show cause that the government was willfully in contempt?
In a tense Senate Judiciary hearing, Representative Adam Schiff grilled Trump-appointed judicial nominees on whether the Justice Department could ever simply defy court orders. When one nominee began citing historical examples like Lincoln and Dred Scott, Schiff cut him off, saying, "That's not my question," pushing for a direct answer on whether outright defiance of a judicial ruling is ever acceptable. The nominees eventually acknowledged that court orders must be followed, emphasizing proper legal channels like stays or appeals, and confirming they would hold government actors in contempt if they refused compliance. Schiff's exchange underscored concerns about judicial integrity and the importance of respecting the rule of law, especially in politically charged contexts.
I want to follow up on the line of questioning many of us had for Mr. Beauvais, since you were present for that, and ask you all the same question. And Judge Artel, I'll start with you. Would it ever be appropriate for the Justice Department to take the position that they should effectively tell a district court to pound sand and ignore a court order?
Well, I just think that there are exceptions, as I indicated before. There's stays that can be pursued. There's motions for rehearing, appeals.
Yeah, that's not my question.
Mm-hmm.
Would it ever be appropriate for the Justice Department to tell the court, we're going to ignore your order?
I mean, Abraham Lincoln did that with the Dred Scott case, I'm
hoping we're not going to go back to the Civil War or Dred Scott. You seem to be having some hesitancy about this question. Would you have difficulty if the government ignored your order in holding them in contempt?
Senator, I would not have any difficulty enforcing any court order that I enter. Obviously, if I enter a court order, I would expect it to be followed, no matter who the party is.
Including by the Justice Department under the Trump administration?
Including the government as well, yes.
Okay. Mr. Dudek, same question.
I would expect the parties in a case before me to follow the order regardless of who they are.
Okay. Same question.
Yes, Senator. I, too, would expect orders to be followed. Of course, if I suspected that there were a problem or an issue with that, there is a process for ascertaining whether a court order has not been followed, and I would follow that process.
And that process involves an order to show cause why they shouldn't be held in contempt, and there are judges holding those hearings contemporaneous with this one. Let's say you hold that hearing and you find that the Justice Department has been in willful contempt, knowing and willful contempt. What kind of sanctions would you entertain under those circumstances?
Senator, it's hard to answer in the abstract. I know that there are a host of sanctions that can be entered on a finding of contempt. I would not hesitate to enter an appropriate sanction, whatever the case would require. I'd have to, look at the particular kind of matter, the severity and extent of the violation of the court order, and those would all be things that would be considered in such a hearing. But what I can say just as a general matter is I would expect that any lawful order that I issue with jurisdiction over the case and the parties should be followed unless or until stayed or reversed or disturbed otherwise on appeal.
Well, and building on that answer, Ms. Gaylord-Moe, let's say that the contempt involved rendering someone out of the country to a maximum security prison in violation of their right to be heard, in violation of habeas corpus. What kind of sanction would you order if you found after a hearing and in order to show cause that the government was willfully in contempt?
Senator, I'm obviously not going to comment on any pending cases, and I'm not going to weigh in on political controversies. I can tell you that the answer to your question is, do I expect the parties in a case that's pending in front of me to comply with my orders? And the answer is yes.
And you would expect that, notwithstanding the fact that they may choose to appeal or choose to disagree with your order, in the absence of a higher court judgment that stays your order, you would expect, and you would indeed compel the government to comply, would you not?
As a judge, I follow the law, and I expect the parties to do the same.
Okay, that doesn't really answer my question. So in the absence of an appeal from your order, in the absence of a stay of your judgment, if the government refuses your order, would you hold them in contempt?
If the elements that would make contempt appropriate under the law were met, and I held a hearing that I felt satisfied that at the conclusion the law compelled the entry of contempt sanctions, then absolutely I would do that.
Okay, thank you. I yield back.
Thank you, Senator Schiff, and thank you so much for our nominees for being here with us today. I know people traveled far and wide to join you. That means they support you and wish all the best in your future careers.